The time has finally come. One of Sega's 5 next level titles is now available for everyone to play, and that game is Shinobi Art of Vengeance. The latest entry in Sega's iconic action series developed by Lizardcube, the talented team behind Wonder Boy, The Dragon's Trap, and Streets of Rage 4 reintroduces Shinobi to a brand new audience while providing plenty of nostalgia for veteran players who grew up with the series, including myself. The franchise began back in arcades in 1987 with Joe Musashi, a master of ninjutsu and martial arts, on a mission to rescue kidnapped children of the Oboro clan and stop the evil terrorist organization known as Zed. Several sequels will follow on both arcade and home consoles, including The Revenge of Shinobi and Shinobi 3 Return of the Ninja Master on the Sega Genesis, continuing the adventures of Joe Musashi. Later games in the Shinobi franchise featured new characters as protagonists, but the series eventually went quiet, with Shinobi on Nintendo 3DS in 2011 being the last major release. The franchise will go dormant for 14 years. That is, until Shinobi Art of Vengeance was teased at the Game Awards in December 2023 alongside 4 other dormant Sega franchises and officially revealed with a full trailer on February 12, 2025. The moment I saw a new Shinobi game was coming, I made it my mission to reintroduce this legendary franchise to my supporting viewers by producing a variety of videos including the lore behind Joe Musashi, covering info about the upcoming movie by Universal, and of course, the future regarding the franchise. Growing up with The Revenge of Shinobi on the Sega Genesis and playing other entries only reignited my hype for this new release. Now that Shinobi Art of Vengeance is finally out, I'm excited to share my full thoughts and experience with you all in my review. Huge thanks to Sega for providing me a review code. And before we get started, if you enjoy reviews like this and want more Sega content, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot, and I plan on covering all of Sega's next level games in future videos. Now, let's dive into my review of Shinobi Art of Vengeance. The story of Shinobi Art of Vengeance takes place in the modern era with echoes of past Shinobi games. Joe Musashi returns as the protagonist, coming back after his latest adventure to be with his wife Naoko, first seen in The Revenge of Shinobi, and train Tomoe and the other students in the ways of the Oboro. However, the Oboro clan's village gets under attack and wiped out by a powerful paramilitary group known as ENE Corp, led by Lord Ruse. Not only is Musashi's home destroyed, but his students are turned into stone, making the fight deeply personal. With the world itself under siege and allies to aid him on his journey, Joe sets out on a mission of vengeance to stop Lord Ruse's global domination. Right off the bat, Shinobi Art of Vengeance felt familiar in all the right ways and is incredible to play. The gameplay is strongly reminiscent of Shinobi 3 Return of the Ninja Master on Sega Genesis, but turned up several notches with fluid modern controls. Joe still has his iconic kunai throws, dive kicks, and ninjutsu techniques in his arsenal, but combat now feels limitless thanks to insane ground and aerial combos you can pull off with slick ninja-like movement and a new dash ability for dodging attacks and traverse in midair. I've really enjoyed experimenting with different combos during my playthroughs, and every hit feels incredibly satisfying to pull off. The beat-em-up aspect added into the gameplay gives this Shinobi title a more modern flair compared to the original Genesis games, and I personally find myself enjoying it even more. On top of that, you can collect and equip Nippo techniques throughout the game that let you unleash devastating and enhanced powers against tougher enemies with stronger health bars and armor. I personally love using the Shuriken Nippo on huge enemies while also shifting my focus on other enemies appearing on screen. One of my other favorite gameplay mechanics to pull off in Shinobi Art of Vengeance is the Shinobi Execution. A bit inspired from the Tate technique seen in Shinobi and Nightshade for PlayStation 2, you can trigger executions when enemies are weakened and marked with a kanji symbol above their heads. Executing them gives you a satisfying kill and provides you rewards like coins, health regeneration, and kunai. If multiple enemies are marked, you can wipe them in one flashy move and earn a lot more depending on the number of enemies you hit with the Shinobi execution. It's extremely satisfying to pull off and adds a strategic layer to the combat. Joe also gains traversal items through Nigi abilities, such as ninja claws for wall climbing, a grappling hook to swing across gaps, a glider to ride across strong winds, and so much more. Every stage layout designs are phenomenal and huge. Each of the 14 levels is packed with action, platforming, and puzzles that kept me on my toes. I've been running from helicopters, leaped across crumbling cliffs, fighting enemies inside a kaiju, and dodging demonic entities, all while feeling like a true ninja. Stages also lay secrets to be found through tough obstacles like Oboro relics that can be spent at the shop to unlock more movesets and upgrades for Joe. Plus optional E&E Elite Squad challenges where you fight waves of enemies led by powerful commanders. Defeating them nets you unique items to make Joe even more stronger. Also, if you end up getting a game over, checkpoints come in handy by placing you where you left off and not far from completing your next objective. At the end of each stage, Joe will have to face off against Lord Ruse's elite warriors in one-on-one duels. From my experience with each battle, these boss fights are fun and intense, requiring mastery of Joe's abilities by figuring out their attack patterns and avoid taking damage as much as possible. Chaining combos with Ninpo attacks on bosses and ending the fight using Shinobi execution makes every victory feel satisfying and climactic, while also providing an adrenaline rush, as these were some of the best boss fights I've ever experienced since playing Shinobi 3 and Shinobi for Nintendo 3DS. In between some levels in the world map, there are also bonus stages paying tribute to Shinobi 3. One has Joe riding on the back of his dog Yamato, chasing down a giant kaiju, and another has him surfing on a hoverboard while dodging mines and bullets. Both were fun to play, and it made me remember why Shinobi was always one of the coolest video game series from Sega. Stages also encourage replay. Once cleared, you can always revisit them and use Nigi abilities you've acquired to uncover more hidden areas or challenge Aku rifts for extreme trials that reward Dark Katana fragments to forge a powerful sword. Finally, once you complete the main story campaign, you unlock both Boss Rush and Arcade Mode. Arcade Mode challenges players to clear each stage as quickly as possible and complete objectives to earn a high letter rank, while Boss Rush lets you take on every boss in a single gauntlet. Both modes add plenty of replay value for players who want to sharpen their skills and push themselves even further. I personally want to give Jim and the Lizardcube level design team major props for making such diverse and thrilling stages to play through and honoring the legacy of Shinobi. From fighting E&E Corps soldiers on top of mountain temples to experimental monsters and biolaboratories, Joe's Vengence never slows down. I also want to point out how much I love the cameos and callbacks from past Shinobi and other Sega properties I managed to find in the game, such as rescuing the kidnapped children from the original arcade game, battling Madara once again with a narrative approach, and spotting several Sega Easter eggs like Golden Axe and Streets of Rage posters all over Neo City. I even saw Ryo Hazuki from Shenmue driving his forklift, doing his job, and making a living in the fish market stage. The art direction for Shinobi Art of Vengeance is just as strong, with Lizardcube providing striking visuals into the sprites and cutscenes. Seeing Joe's special moves animated with such flair feels like watching an anime in action. Designs for the supporting characters and enemies are also well crafted. I really enjoyed Joe's new design as it feels more modern while still respecting his iconic look from the Genesis games, as well as seeing returning characters from the series like Naoko and Yamato. As for the enemies, each of them has a really cool presence and feel right at home in the Shinobi canon. As I progressed through the main story, I felt that the cutscenes looked very stylish, using Japanese-inspired artwork while using smooth transitions and a strong voice narration to make the story feel cinematic and enjoyable to watch. Now when it comes to the music, the Shinobi series has always stood out for its soundtracks, most notably in the Revenge of Shinobi, and Art of Vengeance proudly continues that tradition with a few bangers. T-Los takes lead on the soundtrack as the main composer, with additional tracks composed by the legendary Yuzo Koshiro. And when you have these two on the same project, the result is absolutely mind-blowing. Each stage has its own distinct theme that perfectly elevates the atmosphere. To point out a few good examples, the Secret Factory stage drives forward with heavy industrial beats, while Neo City pulses with slick hip-hop energy. What I love most about the game is how the music escalates during combat. As fights intensify, so does the score, pulling you into the action through waves of enemies. And I gotta say, having T. Lopes and Yuzo Koshiro work together on this soundtrack was a match made in heaven. I can't wait to hear the full soundtrack whenever Sega uploads it on Spotify. From my overall experience with this game, Shinobi Art of Vengeance is one of the best Sega published games in years. Combat is fluid and addictive, platforming is tight, and it offers strong replay value. I also feel that this game is very welcoming for new players who want to get into this game as their entry point to the series, as you can change up the difficulty with the accessibility feature to allow players to enjoy the game more casually. My only complaints are very minor. For starters, you can't use dive kicks to bounce off enemies in the bonus stages like in Shinobi 3, and the insta-kill spikes and flamethrowers can be frustrating when you're so close to finding a hidden item or finishing up a challenge in the Aiku rifts. Since the game no longer uses lives like the original Genesis games, it's a bit more forgiving to continue where you left off, though it can still feel a little punishing at times. But aside from that, this is easily one of my favorite Shinobi games ever. I give Shinobi Art of Vengeance a 9.5 out of 10. This game reignited my love for Shinobi. It was clearly made by developers who grew up with and loved the franchise, and Sega made the right call trusting Lizardcube with it. With the game already receiving critical acclaim and community praise, I believe this is just the beginning for Sega's legacy franchises to make their return. If you're a longtime fan or brand new to the series, Shinobi Art of Vengeance is definitely a must-play, and I highly recommend checking it out. I hope the latest entry garners enough success to earn a sequel, and with merch already popping up and a movie adaptation from Universal on the horizon, I'm hoping to see the Shinobi series continue for a whole new generation to experience real ninja action. And that concludes my review of Shinobi Art of Vengeance. Thank you for supporting my Shinobi content leading up to this release. With Sega's other next level titles on the way, I'm excited to cover those too and share my thoughts with you all. Before I end the video, I have a question for you all. Have you played Shinobi Art of Vengeance yet? What are your thoughts on the game? Please share your experiences in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. Your support helps me keep going and bring more Sega content to the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.